Good morning.
Okay, you're recording.
Okay, let me take the roll call here, and if I have your name wrong, please say something. Is Supervisor Jamie Puccioni here?
Present.
Hey, okay. And Councilperson Jessica Brennan.
Present.
Okay. Who is the comptroller?
Present, Beth Greenwood.
Oh, Beth, how do you do? We haven't met. I wasn't sure. I knew it was another name, but I didn't know you were a new controller. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And Jordan Koshan is here.
I am present.
Yeah. And Elena Finnan is here. Yes, I saw her. Oh, there she is. Hi. Elena, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Thank you. By the way, are you the parliamentarian or just the council? Okay. If you can't hear me, let me know. And let's see. We got Jeffrey Relation. We got Dale Black Pennington. Okay.
I'm here. Present.
And Marina Franchile. I can see you. I just can't hear you. There's Marina. Where'd she go? Oh, thank you, Marina. What happened to, oh, there you are. You're up in the corner. Can you hear me all right, Marina?
I can. I'm sorry. My mic was off. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. Thank
That's
you.
good. And is Allison Marinucci anywhere? Oh, that's too bad. And let's see. Well, we have a volunteer to take the minutes for Allison. Okay.
I'll do it. I'll volunteer.
Okay, Dale will take the minutes. Thank you. Allison is absent. Okay, good. Now that's important. We had a good set of minutes for the last meeting, and that's pretty much what we want, so that we can look back and see what we said and what we did and what motions were passed. Did you all get a copy of the minutes of the last meeting?
Yes.
Anybody who didn't get a copy? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
Aye.
Jeff, motion. Jeff, is there a second?
I second.
That was Dale. I think Dale. Second. Now the first issue that I have, I guess, in what we were supposed to be doing is a discussion and or approval of the bylaws. Which one of you, I'm trying to think, prepared the bylaws?
I don't believe the bylaws are on the agenda for tonight. I have discussed them with Elena. She is the new town attorney. She's looking them over, and we expect to have them ready to be voted on at the next meeting.
Okay. Let me just.
That's correct.
I'll make a note to postpone the discussion until Elena reviews for the next meeting. Um, I,
Judge Zondervan, can I ask you
Yes.
a question? Yeah, this is Maureen. Are you working with the agenda that Allison distributed to everybody?
I think so.
Okay,
Is that, that's, yeah, I'm trying to go down that order. I guess
Okay.
that's what he said, we were gonna do. Okay, so we'll postpone that, and Elena will look at it. It's pretty good. I went through it. I didn't find any real errors. I think it was all right. There were a couple of omissions I might have added, but we'll have Elena look it over and tell us what you think. Now, who is going to do this preliminary report by MPF on budgetary constraints?
I will.
Uh,
Yeah, since I'm MPF, I will. Uh, we met with Elena, and hang on, I have so much to report. I'm just very tired today. We met with Beth, and Beth said that she would be able to look over all of the items on the 38-page list of recommendations that we're tasked with implementing in one way or another, and that she would get back to me. And then subsequently, I spoke with Jordan, and Jordan told me that he and Beth were actually going to meet and go through all of the 145 some odd items and identify which ones are in the 2022 budget and what the plans are budgetary wise for the remaining items. I'm
How many
going on,
items
I'm
did
going
you
on
say
mute.
there?
I'm going on mute for a minute. I can find the mute. My phone's ringing. I can't, sorry about that. I can't find the mute. So
Okay, you're muted. I'm glad I didn't shut the whole thing off. Uh, I do a great deal of Zooms, but this is the first, the Google thing. It's nice.
I'm off mute. I'm sorry. I
Okay,
just didn't
go
want
ahead.
that phone. I didn't want my phone to keep ringing. So I fully expect that in the next week to week and a half that we'll be able to wrap our arms around the budgetary constraints. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm very grateful to Beth for being able to rise to the challenge so quickly. Thank you.
So that'll be completed by the next meeting.
I would say so. Beth, what do you think? The next meeting is in a month.
We should be able to have something put together by then. Jordan and I have sat and we've gone through everything with a preliminary, just to understand what would or would not impact the budget. And I think we were looking at starting to kind of group things in ways that made sense to us. And then we're going to have to kind of bounce those off the current year's budget to see what was accounted for. So some things we know are already in there, but there are some things I'm not quite sure of yet until I do a little more digging.
Okay, and how many of these suggestions were there? Over 100? What did you say?
There's close between 140 and 150 recommendations.
All right.
Dale, is that correct to the best of your recollection?
1 minute, I have it totaled here. Give me a second.
Thank you, Dale.
I'm sorry it's taking me so long.
So it's fun looking at all the pictures. Niski, who's the Niski admin? Oh, that would be, no, that would be Jamie, I guess. No, Jamie's up there separate without a picture.
Hi,
There
Jamie.
you are. Thank you. I have to know who everybody is. It's helpful. I had sent a letter around. I hope everybody got it. I wasn't trying to be overly informal, but it shows you how it worked out. Because if you have
Okay,
cell
it's,
phone numbers, you can send text to people. If you have emails, you can send to their home, uh, so they get it. I suppose the supervisor reads all the mail to to promiscueunit.org. On the other hand, if you wanted to give your cell phone and that information, the cell phone and a home email, we could do it. I'm not really trying to intrude. I'm just trying to make the group a little more cohesive. And this is a perfect example. When I heard the weather forecast, I don't know how bad it is or not there. I fled to Massachusetts before that came in. I'm at my daughter's house in Newbury, Massachusetts. But it sounded like it was going to be bad. It sounded like it was going to get bad. So I called the chief and I asked his advice, and he said definitely we should cancel the in-person meeting and we go ahead with this. That's apt to happen. That's apt to happen a few times, I think, this winter. So
excuse me,
all of
Jim,
that is why
I'll-
the notifications and having numbers and things and for setting up work group meetings, all of that is helpful.
Yes, Judge,
Yes,
please
Judge
make a motion.
Sonderman, I did receive your email and thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I know everyone's going to get back to you to get that all worked out. So I really appreciate it. I think, go ahead, Dale. I believe you were ready to share that information out. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Supervisor Cuccinelli. We have a total of 144 recommendations that we're going to implement. And as you can tell, according to the four sections, they've been broken down in groups of approximately 30 and as much as 38, I think, is the largest number. So the total is 144.
Okay. Is there anything? How do you break them down into what are the criteria?
We discussed this last time, Judge Zonderman, and it's in the 38-page document that was distributed, and I also gave you a copy of it. So if you look at the document that you already have, you'll see how it's broken down. It's quite clear.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm just not at home. I'm sort of on the road with a little laptop here, try to get in. I've
Well,
got
when we do a report from each one of the groups, each group can identify the name of the group. Would that be helpful?
sure.
Thank you.
Okay, now the last item, unless there's some overlap here, is the best practices of the police task force. Is what are the comments on that?
Oh, let me, yeah, I can explain what that was all about. I've lost the, here we go. Yes. that was Allison's suggestion, that we have somebody from Albany Police, their task force, come and just talk to us about some of the things they've run into. And I thought that was a really good idea. But I mean, it's not my decision. I'm just, she was going to bring it to the group for a discussion, but she's not here.
When you say somebody from Albany, you mean an officer or a special officer or a high-level officer? What are you thinking of?
I'm not thinking of, this is not my suggestion. This is Allison's, but Dale just raised her hand. She may have more information. Dale?
Thank you, Marina. The Albany Police Reform Group has established a civilian complaint review board, and they've implemented a few reforms. Allison suggested that we have representatives from the Civilian Review Board and also their reform implementation group come in and speak to us about best practices and how we could move forward in implementing our recommendations.
What is the name of the group again?
The
The committee?
Albany Civilian Complaint Review Board and the Albany Police Reform Initiative, I believe. Allison isn't here, and all I have is her brief email that she sent, and I believe those are the two groups. So I guess we can open it for discussion unless we'd like to table it for Allison to send us more information.
I think that's a good idea, Dale. I think we should table it until Allison is at the meeting.
For more info from Allison, for more info from Allison.
So we have, I'll second the motion to table it until Allison is at the meeting or has sent us all additional information prior to the next meeting.
Okay, and we have a motion made and seconded to table this last item. Is there any discussion? Does anybody want to have anything to say on it? All those in favor, just raise your hand so I can see hands. It's clearly passed.
Elena Finnan raised a hand, so before we make any decisions, I think she has something to add.
Yes, sure. Her picture is
No, I
on.
was raising my hand in response to the request to raise hands.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elena.
Elena, there must be a button you can push to get the camera on again. On the bottom row, the second one in, maybe.
Can you not hear me?
And I can hear you, yes. But there's no camera. Oh, there was before, but there isn't now.
I'm having some connectivity issues. I
Okay,
apologize.
Tell us what you want.
She was
No, I
just
was
saying,
just raising my hand in support of the motion.
Oh, okay, okay.
Judge Zonderman, in the chat, I copied and pasted the 4 categories for your convenience since you're not at home.
Okay, good. I brought some things. I guess it's mostly the minutes, yeah. Do we have any other items of business? We're here and we have the time. Is there anything anybody wants to bring up?
I thought that on the agenda, one of the items was to discuss the subcommittees.
Approval of minutes, approval discussion of bylaws, report by MPF on budgetary constraints, working committees report out.
That's it, the working group committees. We need to
Good.
talk about that.
All right, wait a minute now. Let's say working committees report. Meeting number one, as I recall, we have a chief here for that.
I'll start
So
with
could somebody
Group
from
A.
A,
Group
please start?
A is
Thank
the
you.
committee determining titled "Determining the Functions that the Niskayuna Police Perform," and shortened, it's really just functions that the Niskayuna Police perform. The members of our group are Judge Sonderman and Jeffrey Relation and myself, Dale Black Pennington. We also had Manuel on this group, and he has since left the task force. So we will be meeting this week for the first time, and we just have to hammer out the exact date and time. We'll review our recommendations and discuss our process at that time. I've talked to both Judge Sonderman and Jeffrey, and so we're ready to get started. Jeffrey and Paul, do you want to add anything?
What were the 2 days you were aiming at there, as I recall? I'm trying to recall what you.
My email suggested Monday or Friday. However, I'm very flexible any afternoon, and early morning hours, 7 or 8 a.m. would be good during the week. And I'm available on the weekend also, but I know that may not be open for everyone.
Let me just look at my calendar here so we can.
I could definitely. I'm sorry. I work midnight, so if 7, 8 o'clock in the morning works for you guys, that works for me. Otherwise, Monday or whatever evening, pretty much whatever evening, I'm pretty flexible.
Okay,
And,
great.
let me
Well,
see,
we'll just hammer it out, and then I'll send out a virtual meeting invitation.
this would be Monday, this coming Monday.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, we could do it. I mean, we could do it in the
It's
morning.
coming.
Whatever works for you on Monday. Really,
that would be
I'm really open.
February 6th, Monday.
We could do Monday at 8 or 7:30
That's, yep.
8 a.m.
a.m.
And what are you proposing for the meeting?
Monday at 7:30 a.m., Judge Sonderman?
On this Google Meet or at a house? What are you suggesting?
I think a Google Meet's fine. I think we could get the same thing accomplished.
Okay, I'll send out a Google Meet invitation then.
Great.
Does Seth have to set that up, or do we just come in and meet?
I think we could formally, just as a subcommittee, we can do it informally. I don't think Seth needs to do it.
You can set it up and you'll give us the letters to plug in?
Yes, you will.
Yes.
Okay, all right. We'll tentatively say that when the invite we sent that's good. Now, how about B?
I'm sorry, Judge, did you say Group E?
Yes,
So Group E is the employing smart and effective policing standards and strategies. Again, Manuel, myself, and Allison are part of that sub-working group. I'm here by myself, obviously, because Manuel resigned and Allison is not present. I guess my question is, what's the scope of what we're reporting right now? We met, Allison and I met, we discussed all of those recommendations under B, and I think we have a good kind of working knowledge of timeframes for implementation and things of that nature. Is that what you're looking for? I mean, am I going through item by item right now, or is that something where?
no. What was, Jordan, I'm just interrupting only for clarification. What was supposed to happen is that the subcommittees were supposed to, or the working committees were supposed to meet, and then they were supposed to send me like what they're doing for each of the items in that subgroup. And then I was going to put it into the governing document. And then I was going to send out a PDF.
Okay.
With a current revision. And to date, I haven't gotten anything from anybody except for Group
Okay.
C.
I'm gonna talk to Allison then about that, about putting that together, because, like I said, I took some of my own notes, but I think it'd be better if it came from her, because she is the only community stakeholder like in that group, as it currently stands. So I'll talk to Allison about getting that together and getting that over to you, Marina. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's really not a problem. It's really not a problem. The only reason that I want to do it this way is so that somebody can overcheck my work, because I have the Word document which I can make changes to, and this way only one person is editing. Therefore, you know, if I change recommendation, let's say nefariously, somebody would catch it because I'm the only one that is having document. Obviously, I wouldn't do that, but this is a good checks and balances. So you don't have a shared document where everybody is making changes. I think that's risky.
Okay.
Also,
Number
may I
C
just add,
is,
I'm sorry, Judge Zondervan, that at the time of the general task force meeting, since most of the work is done in between these meetings, we just give updates from each group as to what's been done, but the actual document will reflect how far we've gotten with the recommendations.
Yes, and my plan is once people start sending me stuff, I will make sure that it's revved, that it is sent to Allison, and she will make sure that everybody in the task force knows what we're doing to this transparency all down the line.
Also, I think before the meetings, the updated
Okay.
documents must be published so the town can
Yes,
have it
Yes, a
accessed by
week in advance.
community members.
we're talking about C?
We're talking about any
C?
changes that are made to A, B, C, or D. I've requested, and this was approved at a prior meeting, that people send the changes to me via email. I will then add it to the 38-page document showing the status, and then that will have a current revision date on it, and that will be sent out a week before the next meeting, so that everybody is on the same page, everybody knows what everybody else is doing.
No, that's good. We need your advice. You seem to know more about these items, certainly than I do. I think it's important that we do this. I look forward to it. Now, the people, you're talking, this Group C is Marina, Elena, Gail, and Jeffrey Relation. Is that what you were just referring to?
No, I was referring to all four groups. I'm now going to talk about C.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
for Group C, which is fostering community-oriented leadership, culture, and accountability, there are two changes that have already been made, and Jeff Relations submitted this to me. And since it's only two, I'll just share what they are. Section 3C, this is what Jeff wrote. As we spoke during our subcommittee Zoom meet, part of the section of the report has already been addressed by Chief Cochan, and this was the substance. All members of the department are aware that they may review their personnel files. So that was a recommendation that personnel files be available for review, and that's already been taken care of. Then Section 4C, Chief Cochan has also had all the officers submit their personal and departmental goals to their direct supervisors for review. Supervisors also make recommendation to add letters in an officer's personnel files for exemplary actions taken in the line of duty. So that also was a recommendation that's also already been implemented. So out of the 144, we now have 142 left to deal with.
Good.
So I'd like to share what happened with Group C. I thought it was very, very fruitful. As I mentioned already, the Group C is umbrellaed underneath the budgetary constraints that Beth and Jordan are willing to, Chief Co-Chan are going to help us with. So I'm very, very grateful for that. In addition, Elena has been very, very helpful because Elena is looking at all of the legal constraints. One of the recommendations for Niskayuna is that there be a civilian review board. I know that this will be controversial. I know there'll be a lot of discussion about this, but it's important that it's not a matter of opinion, that it's a matter of legality. It's a matter of being aware of the legal options that are available to Niskayuna. And Elena is looking into that. So she's been incredibly, incredibly helpful. The Attorney General may be able to provide an oversight or watchdog function, which might preclude the need for a civilian review board. We have not really discussed this in any detail, but we're trying to understand all of the legal implications of all the options that are available to us. I think that is it.
Let me just clarify what you mean by a review board. And that would be who is doing it and what are they reviewing?
Dale, would you mind stepping in for this? Because you understand this so much better than I do.
Okay, a civilian review board would be a group of citizens who would be appointed to review specific complaints, usually citizens' complaints made by members of the police force or maybe collectively the entire force. And that group would be a citizens group. So it would be an oversight mechanism, and many cities have adopted civilian review boards. They are either unpaid or citizens, and I don't know that it would have a budgetary constraint. So we could take a closer look at that. Elena did send us some case law, and I haven't had a chance to review it as yet. So I'll discuss it a little further once I've taken a look at that. And maybe it would be a good opportunity for us to listen to best practices and have groups come in from adjoining towns, Albany, Schenectady, and other towns or cities that have adopted civilian review boards and find out the benefits and obstacles to implementing them. Since our recommendations do speak to and requires or recommend the implementation of a civilian review board, I think we need to find out what the best practices would be and how our little town could go about putting that in place.
Now, this you say is complaints by whom, against whom?
There's no specificity. Their complaints can be made against police by police force or any public official. This would, of course, have to do with policing, but complaints could be made by people who come through the city and have had interactions that they believe are negative. Complaints could be made by individuals that have been incarcerated or arrested. Complaints can be made by ordinary citizens who live in the town and feel that over their lifespan they have had negative interactions. However, whatever the nature of those complaints are, they have to be looked at, and there should be an appearance of fairness and impropriety, and the Civilian Review Board is one additional oversight group that communities have adopted.
Okay, as I expressed early on in these meetings, I don't think it's our function, our designated function, to be the group that reviews officers' conduct, or citizens' conduct, or messes in the criminal procedure. I don't think that's who we are. they have civilian review boards around. They're almost like an appeal. They're saying a person shouldn't have been arrested, a person should have been disciplined. I think that's opening up a mess. I'm sure it's narrower than that. Can you help me out with that a little?
Well, I don't think that it's our job to decide whether or not that's appropriate. The fact of the bottom line is we're acting according to a resolution that tells us that we're going to implement the recommendations that the town adopted. And these recommendations include a civilian review board and how we would go about implementing it. So it's our job to look at it and to see how and if we can implement it and when it can be done.
Yeah, no, I just was meaning, that's very general, a civilian review board. I mean, you can review all kinds of things. The artwork in the lobby. I mean, it's not specifically to review the conduct of police officers.
Judge Zonderman, with all due respect, if you look at the document, the 300-page document that everything was captured in from the collaborative that responded to Cuomo's Executive Order 203, I think that your questions will be answered.
Yeah,
You have
thank
to
you.
become very familiar with that document.
I'm just trying to get familiar and
Yeah.
be of some assistance in some of these. I was not on a review board that did so much wonderful work, so I'm at a disadvantage there.
I see.
Yep, all right. Anything else? As I was saying before, do we have any other business to attend to?
There's also Group D, Sonderman. They have not
Okay.
given their update as yet.
And that Group B would just be Jordan and Jessica Brennan, and Manny Amato is gone.
I can report out that we've met. We've gone through the impacts to the budget, and we're in the process of finishing up looking at the implementation time frame, and then we'll be able to submit to Marina.
Jessica, could I please ask you a question? Yeah, the implications to the budget. Have you included Beth in that discussion?
Yes, Jordan met with that.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Of course.
And again, the topic was?
Recruiting and supporting excellent personnel.
Okay.
Judge Zonderman, I will be glad to find an article about civilian review boards, and that would explain things very clearly and send it to you via email. Would that be okay?
Sure. No, I've got a lot to catch up on with all the work that many of you have done.
Really appreciate your curiosity and your interest. That means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think in one way, being on the court to review many times what the officers have done, whether a person is charged with something correctly. I mean, there's overlaps here on a lot of different things that make me a little nervous. That's why I just want to see how it's defined and what the powers are.
Yes. If I may, I'd like to add something to the agenda that was not on the agenda. Can I do that?
Sure, new business. We have new business.
Oh, okay. My understanding is that people that are employed by the town are the people who each person picked one of the 5 residents who are not employed by the town to be on this task force. So Elena, I discussed with Elena what the mechanism is for having somebody replace Manny, who had to leave for personal reasons. We don't know if the person who elected, who nominated Manny, if whatever their position was on the town board, if the parallel position person now has to make the recommendation. We don't quite know how that works. Elena is looking into that, but what I'm putting on the agenda is to discuss adding another member to this task force to replace Manny. And then, of course, there's also the issue of VP. So it's two separate things. One, we need a fifth person, and two, we need a VP.
You mean a co-chair?
Well, a co-chair would be a third discussion as opposed to a
What, you mean when you say a VP?
vice president
Of what?
of this task force. That's what Manny's title was.
Oh, all right. Yeah, fine. I wasn't sure what you were referring to. Good. We'll put that on at the next meeting. Do we have some other agenda items that you specifically want to have noted or put up as part of the agenda for next meeting?
May I just inquire of Elena as to what the process is and how the board would go about replacing someone who has resigned and left our task force? Also, I believe that the board has already been made aware of it. So I know that there is a process, and maybe we can have Elena advise us, if not tonight, but before the next meeting, and also advise the board so that they can get moving, the town board, on replacing this individual.
Yes, I guess if all these things that have been agreed upon or recommended have specific procedures for selecting members, then we have to try to follow those things in doing this. I guess what was the last way they did it? Each person, each staff member could pick somebody. I don't know. I think I was suggested by the town attorney, the then town attorney. I mean, is that how everybody came into this? What are we supposed to do? Or are we going to try to figure out what it tells us to do and how do we replace a person? Anybody got an answer?
So I think that Elena's having some connectivity problems, but this is what I know. This is the best of what I know at this point. It is unclear the process to fill Manny's position because the board, it basically now has 3 new people: myself, Councilmember Brennan, Councilmember Moskowitz. And it is, to the best of my understanding, that there is not a process to help us backfill Manny's position. So my recommendation is not to fill that position, to just carry on and focus our efforts on the task at hand. The second issue with regard to identifying a vice chair, we have a little time left. It is 6:20. I think we meet for another 10 minutes. Maybe the next idea is to see if there's anyone in the task or in this task force who would like to fill that position, and just go ahead and vote on that right now.
Okay.
Supervisor Puccioni, one of the things that Elena said was she did not know if a town employee was able to hold office on this task force. So that if that were true, that would only leave me and Dale available. Dale raised her hand.
I'm willing to volunteer to be vice chair.
Okay. We'll volunteer to be vice chair. Is there anybody else here, or is there anybody who is absent tonight who you think might want to suggest somebody, or be prepared to suggest somebody, or do we just want to go forward? I have no problem with Dale being the vice chair. It'd be enjoyable, but there might be others who have other suggestions. What do you think, Jamie?
Well, I've served with Dale in another capacity, and I think she would be an excellent support and a great leader for the group. And so, you know, I have no opposition to that, and I support it.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to complain. I mean, all right. We have any other nominations for the opening? Okay, we have one candidate. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, the vote is, I can't see Elena. All right, Beth raised her hand. Everybody, there's no objection. All right, so we say it's unanimous, and that Dale will be the vice chair. Is that right? Okay, congratulations.
So may I ask a question? Just because I want to make sure I'm understanding the process moving forward. So we have 4 working groups, which Marina posted in the chat. And most everyone on the task force is a member of a working group. I have not joined one because I wasn't sure if that would be appropriate. But I'm more than willing to join one. We're supposed to, Marina, please correct me if I'm wrong. Like the working group should be working, and then they're supposed to communicate something to you, and you're going to keep track of the working group's process and recommendations.
Right. Did you, I know you're new and you're probably overwhelmed with a whole lot of stuff. So you probably didn't have an opportunity yet to see the 38-page document that was sent out.
Actually, I have read the CNA report, the collaboratives report, and the additional document that you all have created. Yes.
Yes.
I'm all caught up.
Yes. Wow. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed.
Well, I read that previously when I was previous. So
on the 38-page document, that's the one that Dale and I put together. On that 38-page document, what I plan on doing is breaking it up further so that there's more room, like for every couple of items, that there's more room to create columns and actually capture the progress, and then put a different rev on it and then send it out. So it might wind up being 100 pages by the time people receive the next rev, because hopefully there'll be a lot of stuff to enter. There's hardly any room in the columns to really write anything. So that will capture what's going on. It's a working document, and I will send out a PDF, but keep the master file, which is a Word file, and just keep adding to it. And every time that it's added to, everybody will get it. The way that I will know whether or not I need to make additions or changes is because the 4 groups will be sending me, for example, 2A, this has happened, 2C, this has happened, 4D, this has happened. And I'll just go to the appropriate line item and I'll add the status.
Is there any,
Is that clear? Yes?
any questions for Marina?
No, I was just comparing that to the task force, the other task force, and how they have a larger Google Drive, and everyone can access the documents, and then their editor, they don't, not everybody has access to be able to edit the documents, but they could see them. Do we have anything like that where all of our documents are maybe in one central location? And
That's a great idea, and I have no problem whatsoever once we can figure that out. Seth can help me with that. I have no problem at all in putting that, the PDF version of it, you know, the JPEG, putting that on the drive. I think that's a great idea. And the agenda
Email
should
me
be there
tomorrow.
also, and the minutes should be there also. So we have a central location where we can find anything easily, and we don't have to worry that we're missing something in our individual emails. I think that's a brilliant suggestion. Thank you.
I love that. And Seth and I, if we can connect on that and see if we can figure that out, because that would be very helpful for me also, because the emails are,
Yeah,
there's so many emails and the attachments, and just
Right.
keeping everything organized.
right.
Even a little README file in the beginning to let everybody know this is, okay, I'm really good at that, so I can help with that.
I really appreciate that because I'm not good at that. Thank you.
I'd also like to recommend that our resolution and the appointing resolutions be added to that drive so that there's a central access to those documents. They were not attached to the documents that we received from the town, and I don't think it's online. The resolutions themselves, for some reason, are not online.
We are
Resolutions
updating
are
our
only
website
attached.
with a lot of new documents and updating all the names. So we're working on it. I'm actively working on that. I promise.
Resolutions are not posted directly online. They are attached to the agendas of the meetings that they were passed. But we can get you the resolution into a folder. Jamie, I'll get you set up tomorrow with a Google
Excellent.
account so you can make a Google Drive that you can share with everybody.
I will work on that.
I have a couple of resolution numbers, and Jordan was very helpful in finding one for me. That was the resolution that added Jeffrey Lation to this task force, because originally there was no member of the police board on it. So I will make sure that you get that number. It was a little bit difficult to find.
Actually, I have the numbers. I just don't have I have the numbers. I was able to track those down, but I don't have the actual resolution.
So feel free to email me what you think should be in the drive, and I
Okay.
will help organize it.
Excellent.
Now, before we go, I just thought I would say, circling back to the Civilian Review Board, I know you mentioned, Dale mentioned, and Marina mentioned, potentially looking to other municipalities. I'm wondering if there are comparable municipalities that we could also look to, and maybe it's not locally, but something similar in terms of our demographics, population size.
Yeah.
That, I think that would be very useful. Ranger, stop.
I'm just
No, I actually agree with you, Jamie, because we have to a large extent, we have different problems. If you generalize, different problems for Schenectady, let's say. You know, the demographics are different. I understand what you're saying, and even when the FBI, they have a list of how many police officers you should have per, I think, 1,000 residents, and they have it broken down geographically into size of an area, whether it's an urban area, whether it's a rural area. So I do think that these distinctions are very important. Did you have any place in mind?
No, not as of yet, but I think I'm going to take a look at some research literature also to see if I can find anything related to this topic,
Okay.
specifically for a smaller town.
Actually,
Let
also,
me,
we can tap into the resources of our other task force that's actually been examining best practices, and maybe I'll get in touch with Dr. Oh, this is horrible.
I think his name is Dr.
Horton,
Horton. Yeah, Dr. Horton.
chairing that task force, and discuss best practices of similar towns and similar demographics. I'm sorry, Jordan, I didn't mean to overspeak you.
No, you're fine. I was just trying to give you his name because I was having a brain freeze too, and I just thought I'd say it out loud so everyone can hear it. Just real quick. So I started prior to this group starting when I first became chief. It was just a cursory kind of Google search and looking into things. I'm going to be completely honest with you that I could not find a similar demographic, population, township that had a civilian review panel to be able to compare it to. I think there was one that wasn't a city, and I think it was down towards New York City. And I'll have to find out what website it was I was looking at through, but there's actually like a coalition that kind of tracks these things. Rochester's on there, Albany's on there, Schenectady's on there, but it didn't appear on face value that there was anyone in New York State except for maybe one that had something that would match kind of what we are as Niskayuna. So
that's one of the reasons I sort of jump into discussions when we start talking about civilian review boards. And if a person is disciplined, they have a collective bargaining agreement, they have a grievance procedure. There's a lot of things to think about as what you're talking about, what's being reviewed, and are they stepping on other areas? You're gonna have to be careful in this.
I agree. It's going to take a lot of very deep thinking.
Let me ask a question before we end here. On the mailing list, a few times I see Paul Sinelli. Is that a name? Who is
Yes. She works in my office, Judge Sonderman.
Oh, is she on the committee?
No, she's the confidential secretary in my office.
Oh, all right. Do you want her to be on the mailing list for what we do?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, and what's her full name?
I'll email it to you
Yeah.
so then you can get the spelling right.
And her email address, I can put it in the notices. I just saw that name on there and I didn't know who it was. All right, good. Is there anything else? Let's see. Time is over by 2 minutes. I think it's been a good meeting. I want to thank you all. I don't know what it's doing outside.
Judge Zondervan, when I said, I owe you an apology when I said VP instead of VC. It's just because I'm tired today. So I didn't mean to say vice president. I did mean to say vice chair.
Well,
So I
that was promoting me to president, so you don't have to. All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Jeff Relation makes a motion to adjourn. A second?
I second.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. None opposed. Beth, do you have something to say? Okay, no, good, all right. And we will be adjourned at 6:33. Thank you all very much. I mean, we did an emergency